Welcome back. Well, if you look at the situation around our cities and the way so many people really battle just to get enough food to eat, it's not surprising that there's now evidence of a huge correlation between the incidence of depression and issues around mental health and the amount of money that people have. Sthembiso Mkhize is a researcher at the Gauteng City-Region Observatory. He's been putting together research on this. Sthembiso, good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time. You put together this research between mental health and the amount of money people have in Gauteng. What did you find?
So normally every month at the Gauteng City-Region Observatory we do something we call Map of the Month, and for October we thought, how about we do something around raising awareness around mental health and the socioeconomic status in Gauteng. And from the analysis, what we did was to use two measures which would sort of tell us the number of respondents at high risk of depression, and the second measure was the socioeconomic status index. So from the analysis, we saw that there is a relationship between the respondents at high risk of depression and those at high risk of depression and socioeconomic status. And from the map that we did, it suggests that the areas in which more than 30% of respondents are at high risk of depression, which on the map you see that they are dark red shaded. We saw that those people are mostly, they mostly have low socioeconomic status, and those are represented in red. And we also saw that in areas that have been economically disadvantaged, such as Soweto, Tembisa, Gauteng, Sebokeng, Katlehong, Soshanguve, Hammanskraal, we see that the percentage of respondents at high risk of depression are, at least in most parts, above 30%, which in contrast we see that in areas with in areas in the wealthiest parts of Gauteng, such as Bryanston, Sandton, Roodepoort, and Centurion, we see the opposite, where the high risk of depression is less than 30% in most of these areas, and the socioeconomic status tends to be higher.
Can I ask, I understand how you're able to look at areas and gauge economic wealth. You can look at the socioeconomic area. There'll be indicators for that. How do you do the research around mental health? I mean, do you ask people how they're feeling?
So we conduct a quality of life survey, which is a population representative survey conducted amongst adults from the ages of 18 years upwards. And it has been conducted by the GCRO since 2009, and it is conducted every 2 years. So from the survey itself, there are two questions that we ask, and one of them is around, we ask how often a respondent was bothered by little interest or pleasure in doing things, and the second one is how often has a respondent felt down, depressed, or hopeless. And from those two questions, we're able to combine the scores from those two questions, and we use something we call a patient health questionnaire score, which we also call the PHQ2 score. And from that, if a person gets a score of 2 upwards, we would say they are at high risk of depression. However, this screening tool does not say a person has depression, but it says they are at high risk of being depressed.
I presume if this is happening in cities, it must be happening in rural areas too. I mean, I know you may not have been able to do the research, but the chances are the richer you are, the happier you are. Probably holds true in rural areas too?
Yeah, unfortunately, from the quality of survey, I wouldn't specifically answer to those questions, but I can imagine that from the analysis that we did for this map of the mind, we see that areas that are poor, they are mostly, we see that most respondents, they are at high risk of depression because their socioeconomic status is most likely to be lower.
Thank you very much indeed. Sthembiso Mkhize is a researcher at the Gauteng City-Region Observatory.